Hey guys, my name is Matt Johnson. I'm a wedding cinematographer, and today I want to talk about something that's really near and dear to my heart, and that is how to pose the couple on the wedding day. You know how it is. The ceremony's just finished. The photographer takes all the family and gets them all together, and it's like, okay, we're going to do all the formal photos. They get that all done, and then at the end, you have anywhere from maybe 5 to even 20 minutes with the couple together to film them. That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I don't like common tutorials. I don't like making something where you go on YouTube or Vimeo and you search and there's a million responses. The majority of my tutorials and videos are stuff where I've needed to learn something and I go on YouTube and I search and I'm like, man, nobody has told me how to do this, so I have to go and learn it myself. And at that point, I want to share it with others like you. And so if you look out there online, there are a ton of videos showing you how to pose a couple during the wedding day for photography. So pose a couple like this, have them stand this way and look at the camera pretty. But nothing for wedding videos. Nobody that I've seen has talked about how to pose a couple for a wedding video, and that's kind of crazy to me because it is such a creative moment of the day where you can really let your artistic ability flow. And so that's something that I really want to talk about today. This tutorial is a summation of about 6 years of knowledge that I have from shooting weddings. When I first started out, I was pretty dumb. I just followed around the photographer, filmed a couple a lot from the side, just kind of got whatever I could, kind of grabbed things. I didn't really creatively take charge and say, hey, let's do this. This is going to look awesome. I didn't really let my creativity flow out. I just sort of piggybacked on and caught what I could, and I really kind of stole the photographer's creativity and used that instead of using my own. For me, there was a lot of trial and error to get better. What I'm hoping for is that with this tutorial, though, you'll be able to watch it and skip some of that trial and error, and you'll be able to use this to improve your wedding cinematography. And with that, I've split up this tutorial into 3 sections: setup, philosophy, and practical tips. Let's talk about setup first. Now, I'm hoping at this point you've already watched my video that I'm going to put up right here, which talks about how you and the photographer can get along on the wedding day. And there's no more important point than when you two should get along together than whenever you are posing the couple, because there's a point where you may have ideas and they may have ideas, and you both want to get them out in a limited amount of time, and so it's important for you to both to share the space. So check out that video first, watch that, and that'll help out a ton. Next, and this is very important, you should also talk to the couple. Whenever you meet with them before the wedding day, which I hope you're doing, you should tell them that you would like to take them out and film them together. Because oftentimes they're making their schedule and they have a million things to think about, so they haven't thought about that. But by you telling them, hey, I would like 10 minutes to take you guys out after the ceremony, then they will make a note of that on their schedule. And also ask them if they are doing a first look, where they see each other before the ceremony. Because then if they're seeing each other before the ceremony, you're going to want to film them together at that point. You're not going to want to wait until after the ceremony. Regardless, make sure you talk to them, and if you can, the coordinator, and make sure that your time with them is on the schedule. So that way you can look at it and say like, no, it's here, we need to go do this. And they'll say, okay, great, let's do it. Lastly, if they're getting married in the early afternoon, or they're doing a first look and it's 2 p.m. and the sun is like shining down brightly on them and you're like, it looks pretty harsh, maybe film them a little bit in the shade if you can, but tell them, hey, I would love to take you out during your reception during golden hour. So pull out your phone, open up the weather app, look at the sunset time and say, 30 minutes before that, can I take you guys out? And tell them how good the sunset will look, how pretty the light will look, and I've never had a couple say no. Let's talk about philosophy, why and how I pose the couple. And I really don't like to call it posing because that conjures up images of people just smiling and looking at the camera, and that's kind of creepy. I love to focus on natural, organic movement. And so don't tell the groom to cup her cheek and look into her eyes and say, I love you, because that is scripted. And what are scripts used for? Actors. Are these people actors? No, they're a wedding couple that is giddy and freaking out, and unless they have theatrical acting experience, they're not going to know how to fake a laugh. They're not going to know how to smile and make it look genuine unless it is genuine. So what you need to do is not focus on just saying, hey, you guys laugh with each other, ha ha ha. No, what you need to do is let these laughter and smiles be authentic by letting them happen naturally and organically. Otherwise, your audience is going to be able to tell, and it's going to pull them out of your wedding video and pull them out of the story that you're trying to tell them. Thankfully, you have a lot of things going for you to show the couple's authentic joy on their wedding day. Namely, it's their wedding day, so they're already in a super excited, happy, joyful mood. All you have to do is just help that bubble up to the surface a little bit. Now, how do you do that? By making the couple feel comfortable. What is comfortable to the couple? Hugging, kissing, spending time together, staring into one another's eyes. Unless they're like total weirdos, they probably have a lot of experience doing these things, so they're used to it and it feels comfortable to them. By having them focus on those things that make them comfortable instead of the 4+ cameras that are currently on them, you are helping to create a moment between the two of them that you can capture. Lastly, let's talk about practical ideas. And I'm sure you're like, oh my gosh, Matt, finally. But these are things that you can take to your next wedding and try out whenever you are posing the couple. Keep in mind that these are just rough ideas because I prefer to never really tell the couple exactly what to do. I prefer to give them a rough idea and then let them figure it out for themselves because that results in a more organic and natural action. Without further ado, here are my ideas for organic movement and posing. First, walking together. And I say it first because generally you have a place that you want to take the couple to and you're like, that'll look really good to film them with over there. But you don't want to waste the time where you're going from place to place. So you tell them, hey, you guys should walk together, hold hands, and walk like at half speed and talk to each other, pretend we're not even here. And they'll say, okay, and then they'll invariably start talking about the wedding and stuff like that because this is the first time they've really seen each other. So they're not going to really even pay attention to you, and you can get some great shots of them looking at each other, smiling while they're walking slowly, and you're not wasting the time going from location to location. Secondly, once you had them walk from place to place and you film that, once they get to where you want to film them, tell them to wrap one another's arms around each other passionately and have a moment. And what that will normally result in is the bride wrapping her arms around the groom's neck and the groom wrapping his arms around the bride's waist and them kissing and talking and laughing and having a moment together. And you'll notice that I didn't say like, hey groom, wrap your arms around her waist, and bride, wrap your arms around his neck. No, I let this all happen organically and naturally. So that way it wasn't some sort of forced like, oh, we pose like this, okay, because then people can tell in the video whenever they're like listening to commands and doing things. Whereas if they're just wrapping their arms around one another, it is such a more fluid thing that just happens. Once you have them in this position with their arms wrapped around each other, staring into one another's eyes, you have a lot of opportunities for a lot of creative things. I like to tell the couple to Cantoodle, which can really go in any direction that they want to interpret it as. Oftentimes that results in the groom whispering sweet nothings into her ear, or to them just making out intensely, whatever they want to interpret that as. And if at some point during this they haven't made out, you should definitely tell them, hey, you guys should make out, and then film them doing that. Probably don't film the start because there's going to be this awkward like darting in moment where they're listening to you, but during the middle that's all going to be organic and natural, and you can use that in the video. Another technique that I've learned that has been really awesome is to ask the couple questions but have them answer them to each other. So for example, I would ask them, which one of you is going to sleep in more? And invariably he's going to be like, oh yeah, she definitely is lazier. Or she'll be like, dude, he sleeps all the time. And then they're going to start laughing. Or you can ask, which one of you is messier? Or which one of you said I love you first? Or who is going to do all the cooking? Or how many kids do you guys want? Invariably they're going to start laughing because these are funny questions about the two of them, and they're going to be looking at each other, and it's going to be organic, natural laughter that isn't staged or forced, and it's going to be awesome for the video. Next, whenever you're moving to another location that you would like to pose the couple, sometimes I like to have the bride lead the groom or the groom lead the bride, and it kind of looks like they're leading one another on an adventure, and it sounds cheesy, but it looks really cool on the video. Whenever I get to the next location that I'd like to film the couple, I normally tell the bride or the groom to stand still, and I tell the other one, I want you to walk up to them and make out. And typically they look at me weird, like, really? But then I'm like, yeah, just walk up normally like you would, but then wrap your arms around them and make out with each other. And that usually results in some cool like movement where I can glide cam up alongside them while they're doing it. And then they just start making out hardcore, and it looks good because it's a natural reaction to them seeing their soulmate on their wedding day. Last thing that I like to do, and this is entirely contingent on the bride being okay with it, but I'll ask them if they're okay with the groom picking up the bride and spinning her in the air. Or if the bride's strong enough, I guess she could pick up the groom and spin him in the air, but that doesn't happen nearly as often. But what I'll typically do is have the groom pick the bride up and spin her around while they kiss or while they look into one another's eyes. And I'll have them do it a couple times to get some wide and some close-ups of that happening. And that's just a great way to incorporate movement into your posing. At this point, you've probably spent anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes with a couple filming them together, and you should have enough footage to make an awesome wedding film. But at this point, I would also like to cover some of the things to avoid whenever you're filming the couple. First, I don't ever let the couple look at the camera whenever they're together, because that can break the fourth wall, and I really want to have it be an intimate moment of the two of them together, and I don't want them to be drawing the audience awkwardly into their moment where they're just like, hey, we just made out, what's up? It's just kind of weird, you know? So I want them to look at each other, not at the camera. Second, and this is super important, always be aware of what the couple's hands are doing. The groom's hand should always be either touching the bride or in his pockets. They should never be anywhere else. And the bride's hands should always be either touching the groom or holding her bouquet. Have you ever seen a sorority girl photo? Their hands are always on their hips because hands dangling at someone's sides look awkward. So you always want to make sure that the hands are occupied doing something. Avoid having them hanging at the sides and always be aware of where they're at. Third, avoid filming the couple looking at the photographer's camera. Much like them looking at your camera, it is awkward and it draws the audience out of the film. The audience can tell whenever the couple is awkwardly looking off, smiling. They know that they're looking at a camera. It's obvious. So you want to avoid that. If you're filming the couple, always have them looking at each other or looking off in the distance. Never film them while they're looking at the photographer's camera. Does it mean they shouldn't be looking at the photographer's camera? No, because we want to be nice to the photographer, and I'm sure that they have shots they want to get where the couple is looking at the camera because that looks great in photos. So my last avoid tip is don't ignore the photographer. Make sure that you give them their space. Tell them what you're doing, tell them your ideas, let them tell them your ideas, and then share the space and share the couple. Let the photographer get the shots that they need while you get the shots that you need while you're both being creative. That's all I got. I hope this video has been helpful to you and given you some great ideas for how to pose and film a wedding couple. If you have any ideas or techniques, I would love to hear them. If you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to leave one below or message me through my website, whoismatt.com. You can also check out my wedding film production company, FilmStrong Productions, at filmstrong.com. Thanks and have a great day.